Eleanor Williams was born on 26 November 2000. It was reported that she had a difficult childhood and self-harmed from a very young age. Eleanor grew up in Barrow-in-Furness, Cumbria, and her parents split up, and she also said that she did not see her father very often. She stated that she did not get along with her stepfather or mother, stating it was the reason that she moved out of their address to be able to live in a flat on her own. When she was 16 in 2017, Eleanor made an allegation against a male individual who was named C in the court proceedings. During an informal event at his house, she became drunk and smoked cannabis. She was sick and he, along with others, called for her to be picked up. Her mother collected her and took her to hospital. Whilst in hospital, she told staff that she had been raped. She spoke to Cumbria police about the allegation, stating that C had threatened to set his dog on her and kill her, disposing of her body either in his garden or at sea. C was arrested in November 2017 and after being interviewed was released. In January 2018, she withdrew her support for the prosecution and he faced no further police action. In 2019, Eleanor made 3 allegations against Jordan Trengrove. After a night out with Jordan on the 8th and 9th of March 2019, Eleanor alleged that he had taken her to an address and raped her. On May 6th, she called the police and stated she had been attacked that day. Whilst feigning reluctance to tell police what had happened, she later made the allegation about what happened in March and also on 6th of May. In relation to this date, she stated that Jordan had arrived at her flat and after not leaving had threatened her with a knife, beat her with a shower head and raped her. Eleanor presented with bruises on her legs, so police arrested and interviewed him before he was bailed. On 18th May 2019, Eleanor again called the police, stating that she had returned to her flat after a night out and he had entered her flat through her door she had left unlocked for a friend. She alleged he had hit her face and body before raping her again. Police located her with injuries, so Jordan was arrested again and remanded in custody until August 2019. In June 2019, Eleanor was reported missing a number of times, being located each time by the police. When police located her, she was either intoxicated with alcohol or drugs or had injuries, including bruises. Police had significant concerns in regards to this. Eleanor was investigated by police in July 2019 and she again disclosed further allegations. She stated that when she was younger, she attended parties at the houses where older men were present. She said that she was introduced to a male known as Rami when she was 12 years old and she had worked in his Indian restaurant. Rami was a local businessman whose name was Mohammed Ramzan. Eleanor stated that he began grooming her, allegedly told her that he loved her and she was special, and that she was his girlfriend for a long time. Eleanor claimed that Rami began a sexual relationship with her when she was 12 or 13 years old, grooming her to have sex with other men. She alleged that he had begged her to have sex with a friend of his, telling her that she would be doing him a massive favour. She told police she had sex with his friend and Ramzan had told her it only happened once, but that was not the case and it happened more frequently. She explained she discovered Ramzan would get money whenever she had sex with other men. She stated that he would take her to parties where there were other girls and she met other men in Barrow, Rochdale and Oldham and other places. She wrote the names of 60 other girls who she had been to the addresses with. Many were verified by police living in Barrow. She alleged that in 2018 Ramzan had suggested she go to Amsterdam, where she had been forced to work in a brothel and was sold for €25,000 at an auction. However, the buyer hadn't completed the deal. She further alleged that he had taken her to Ibiza for 2 weeks, where she was forcibly coerced into working in a brothel. She stated that when she was messed up, she would be beaten. She said she was fearful of what would happen to her if she was found and she had spoken to the police. Police were fearful that grooming gangs were occurring in Oldham and Rochdale. They worried that things were going to go wrong or people would get hurt if they failed to act soon enough. Police arrested Ramzan and interviewed him. He denied the offence and denied that he knew Eleanor or he had been to the places where she said he had been. After 36 hours in police custody, he was released on bail. After this, a major investigation started up and a team looked into her allegations. In the meantime, police temporarily moved her out of Barrow into a hotel close to Kendal Police Station, arranging for her to have a job there. Eleanor had previously refused to participate in a witness protection program. Eleanor made a further allegation that she had been trafficked to the Blackpool area on 30th June 2019. She said that she had been getting messages stating that she was to get on a train to Blackpool. She described to police the locations in Blackpool with specific dates of the layouts of the addresses, including drawing pictures of the places. Police believe that she had been to the locations from the way she could describe them in lots and lots of detail. Police hope that given how much detail she had provided about the addresses in Blackpool, that the whole investigation would open up by one bit of evidence. She was taken by car with the police on 10th July 2019 to Blackpool in the hope that she could point out locations. This was captured through police body cam footage showing her vaguely pointing at locations and actions that had happened, including getting into a car or walking. One of the officers that drove her to Blackpool was surprised that she could not provide details in relation to the addresses and hoped that driving around the area they may go past somewhere that might look familiar to her. The police officer later stated that he found it unusual that she displayed no emotion and at no point got upset. At the end of the drive, police had no leads in their investigation. The officer driving her around later stated that this was the first time that he had any doubts as to whether she was being honest about what had happened to her. Her disappearance in Blackpool in relation to suspicions about whether what she was saying had occurred was shared with other officers. She was a high-risk missing person. The police had the authority to conduct checks on her mobile phone in relation to telephone masts that it was connected to. This led police trawling through accommodation in the Blackpool area to see whether she had been seen. 50 venues were visited, including pubs, hotels and B&Bs. On the final venue, the Savoy Hotel, police were told by the receptionist that she had booked into the hotel on 30th June 2019. Police discovered that she made a booking at the hotel for 2 nights previously on booking.com. They found that she had arrived at the hotel at 8:20, finding CCTV footage of her arriving on her own, checking in before going to her bedroom at night. After staying in the room for approximately an hour, she was again seen on CCTV to leave the hotel and attend 2 local shops. This was contrary to what she had told police was happening around the time, stating that she had been driven around to various locations in Blackpool, being forced to have sex. After leaving the local shops, she then returned to the hotel, which she then didn't leave again for 24 hours. Police realised that she had been lying about what had occurred. An inquiry team went door to door to speak to the girls that she had alleged had been at the parties who had been victims of sexual exploitation. Not one of them were found to have been a victim, with the girls and their parents being shocked at the police speaking to them about this case. The police made the decision to arrest Eleanor for preventing the course of justice. However, before she could be arrested, she went missing again. She was located 12 hours after she went missing. When she was located in the early hours of 19th July 2019, she made further allegations against different men in relation to trafficking. Police body cam showed them arriving at her flat and at her opening the door. She appeared to be intoxicated through either drugs or alcohol. Pretending to be semi-conscious, she is seen to have a number of injuries and says help to the police officer. An ambulance takes her to the hospital where she discloses that she had taken alcohol, cannabis and spice, telling an officer that she had sex with a male named Ollie in Preston in a back street. She is heard to say to the officer, "I'm not going to get arrested, am I?" later stating, "You might not believe me." She later stated in an interview with police that she got messages telling her to get to a train to Preston. She stated that she walked through the town centre of Preston and met a male named Ollie. This was actually Oliver Gardner. She stated that he walked her through a back street to where there were 2 men, who paid Ollie to have sex with her. On returning to Barrow, she stated that a male named Salza picked her up in a car, dropping her off nearby to her address. After this, she stated that Salza and another man followed her to her flat, whereby they had sex with her. She stated that she was hit in the face twice, and also after 10 minutes of the event, that's when police had knocked on her door. Police discovered CCTV of her. It showed her getting off a train in Preston. It also showed Ollie walking on his own, having a chance encounter with her when she asked for a lighter for his cigarette. They are seen to talk to one another, but when Ollie gets his cigarette lighted, he walks away. Eleanor is seen on CCTV to follow him, appearing to want to continue the conversation. Later, they are seen walking happily together, with Ollie having his arm around her. Voluntarily, the pair go up a lane out of view, where it is believed consensual sex occurs. The pair swap telephone numbers, and she is again seen on CCTV to walk back to the railway station. At the station, she is seen again on CCTV to enter the toilets. A camera at the basins in the toilets captures her appearing to be doing something to her eye, potentially adding makeup or something else to feign an injury. Further CCTV showed her returning to Barrow railway station. It was at this point that she had alleged that two males had collected her before returning to her address. However, the CCTV showed that she was walking alone with no one nearby. By chances, her brother's girlfriend was driving and noticed her, stopped her car and drove her back to her flat. At the time, she did not see any injuries on her. Aware she was missing, her brother contacted the police to say that she had returned. Police discovered that she had significant facial and bodily injuries that had happened within 20 minutes from her brother informing police she was no longer missing to the police arriving at her flat. Finding that she had no relationship or family member who could have caused the injuries, police found that there was no other explanation than having caused the injuries to herself. Police discovered Ollie at his place of work. Whilst it is usual practice for police to arrest a suspect of rape, they took a statement from him instead to account for his movements, as the investigation at that point was on the basis that she had been lying about everything. Eleanor was arrested for preventing the course of justice and interviewed. In the interview, she was shown the CCTV from the Savoy Hotel. Asked how she could account for it, she replied, "I can't explain." Police explained to her that they had information that contradicted her version of events. Eleanor stated that she understood how serious it was and stated she felt bad for lying and that she was really sorry for doing so. However, she added that people involved had discovered that she had been speaking to the police, and in response, they had told her to tell the police certain information to prevent them from tracing. She stated that it would be hard for the truth to be accepted when she had lied, but added, "I don't get these bruises for no reason, you know. I don't want to be that girl that cries rape. I'm not that person." She was asked how she got the bruises. She replied, "Well, how? You tell me." When police asked whether the injuries were self-inflicted, she responded, "Are you having a laugh?" As soon as police discovered she had been lying, they got in motion to have Jordan released, having spent 73 days in prison. After she was arrested, a number of mobile phones in her possession were seized by police. Her phone was constantly going off throughout her initial interviews when she first made allegations. She would show all the messages to police and the evidence of that she was being trafficked. Police found out that she had been using a second mobile phone to create fake conversations and be a fake victim. Both her first and second phones were found to be connecting to the same phone masts. The second mobile phone had been given to her by a women's help group for victims of abuse. Police discovered that she herself was effectively grooming men. This occurred through her meeting men on adult websites, encouraging her to contact them, which then became more explicit before she would change the names in her phone, in one case changing a contact's name to Rami and Salsa. At this point, she was charged with preventing the course of justice and given a strict curfew. On 19th May 2020, police were called by her mother stating that she had gone missing, being on a strict 7 p.m. curfew. A dog walker informed police that she had seen a woman in a field near to where she lived. Police body cam showed officers at the scene locating Eleanor, injured within the field. She appeared to be looking behind her, as if there was someone else there, with her stating that they had left before the police had found her. She told police that she was picked up in a car and taken to an address whereby there were 10 men. She stated she was raped and injured inside the address. When the officers found her, she had a significant eye injury with a swollen eye that had closed up and lacerations to her finger. Officers searched the field where she was located and found a bloody stained hammer. DNA testing showed that the only DNA present was hers. A further 8 hammers were seized from her home. After being taken to hospital, a Home Office pathologist produced a report about her injuries, stating that the injuries identified to this young woman's body are consistent of her striking herself multiple times with a hammer to the head, the face, both legs, arms, and front of lower abdomen. Many of her injuries appeared to have only been sustained in parts of her body where she could reach. For her own safety, as well as finding that she had not been abducted, the decision was made to arrest her for breaching her court bail conditions that were set after being charged with preventing the course of justice. She was arrested in the early afternoons of 20th May 2020. Having been arrested, she was taken to Barrow Police Station. She was remanded on her charges. Whilst in custody, she wrote a letter to her sister asking that she told her solicitors that a hammer was found in her bedroom in an attempt to create a false defence for the final allegations she makes. As a result, she was further charged with another count of preventing the course of justice. It was while she was at the police station that they became aware she had put a post on Facebook. She included photos of all her injuries and stated that she was put in the back of a car the day before being taken to an address to have sex with 3 Asian men. She stated that they were local men and that some were business owners. She went on to add she had broken ribs, many bones in her face were also broken, and they had tried to drown and strangle her. The post attracted a lot of attention and was shared over 100,000 times. Over £22,000 was crowdfunded by a local councillor, Shane Yerrell, for a private prosecutor against the fake grooming gang. Her mother held onto the money during her trial, stating that it was for an appeal. Shane started legal proceedings and her mother donated the funds to 2 unnamed charities, with multiple other charities refusing to take the money. Eleanor's trial was held at Preston Crown Court in October 22. Prosecution barrister Jonathan Sandiford KC opened the case by telling the jury that she was a serial liar and that her accounts were a fabrication from first to last. In relation to the allegation that C had raped her, it was found that there was no evidence to support her allegation, including a Snapchat account that she had given them, which didn't exist. In relation to the allegation against Jordan, police had found that she had created fake Snapchat accounts pretending to be him. From this account, she wrote messages to herself which incriminated him, providing that he had admitted to the crime, but it was all Eleanor. Her IP address was linked to the messages, eventually coming out that it was all sent from her home internet. Furthermore, he could account for each night that she had alleged the attacks took place. On one occasion, he stated he had been in the back of a police van close to the time it was alleged that he had assaulted her. In relation to the allegation against Ramzan, who had taken her to Amsterdam to work in a brothel, it was shown that at the time she had said this, his bank card was used in a B&Q in Barrow, and that his phone didn't leave the Barrow area. Eleanor had been in Amsterdam at the time, however she shared a hotel with her sister and her boyfriend. It was heard that she admitted lying to the police about the allegation that he had taken her to Ibiza for 2 weeks, forcing her to work in a brothel, when police said that travel records could be checked. Using a man's Snapchat account who she had shared intimate messages with, she had amended the contact information, making it appear to be explicit content sent from Rami instead. The male Eleanor had previously named as Salazar was reported by her to have a full name of Emmanuel Salazar. However, with another trafficker she named Roll Kelsey, there was evidence that neither actually existed. A social media account on Instagram that she stated belonged to Salazar actually belonged to a man from Seattle in Washington. In relation to the allegations of the involvement of all the other girls who she wrote down names for, it was discovered that she either knew the girls from school or she had found their details online. Further proof was found that she had purchased hammers to self-inflict injuries from Tesco on May 11th. When under cross-examination, she said, "I wouldn't buy a hammer to hurt myself. I'm not a psychopath." The 3-month trial heard other lies that she had told about her having a child, how she worked at Ramzan's restaurant, that she had a backstreet abortion, had a heroin addiction from the abuse she had faced, and she had been in a coma. It took the jury only just a few hours to reach a unanimous decision, finding her guilty of all charges. She was sentenced to 8.5 years in prison. She would be eligible for parole on 12 February 2027. The first unnamed man, C, stated how frightening it was for him to be wrongly accused, arrested, and kept in a police station. Wrongly accused of being a rapist, he stated he doesn't go to Barrow Town Centre and had removed himself from all social media. Fearing what people were saying, he couldn't pick up his son from nursery. He described her false allegation against him as the worst experience of his life, stating he didn't think he could ever recover. Jordan's home was vandalised with the word rapist, with his mother having to leave the home. After being released from prison, he still had to face bail conditions, meaning he could not live at his home address. On returning to Barrow, Jordan faced strangers abusing him in the street and became isolated. In August 2020, he attempted to commit suicide and was on antidepressant medication, losing his self-confidence, and he could no longer work. Since the allegations, he has had his own child. This resulted in a number of anonymous phone calls being made to social services, informing them that he was a rapist and not safe to be with his child. Having recently moved addresses at the time of the trial, his new neighbour stated he didn't want him living there, calling him a rapist. 2 weeks after being arrested, Ramzan was described as being in such despair that he attempted to commit suicide in front of his family, resulting in him being injured and leaving scars. Barrow community targeted him, his vehicle was smashed and his tyres damaged. He and his family had to move out of their home for some time, as it was affecting his family and children. Ramzan stated that his businesses were ruined, going from being successful to having virtually nothing. The windows of one of his rental properties were smashed, repaired, and immediately smashed again. He received a number of death threats via social media and stated that even at the time of the trial, he still feared for his safety, having been unable to sleep and feeling anxious leaving the house over the past 3 years. The man that Eleanor had met in Preston, Ollie, on the way back from Leeds, was studying for exams and doing well at his place of work. As a result of the allegation, he had not worked since and had stopped studying. He had attempted to commit suicide, suffering a serious mental health crisis.